Now, those of you who were adults or who were wise already in the 70s and the early 80s, you know the trouble that Nigeria and other African nations bore on account of what's happening in South Africa, or what was happening in South Africa. Now, the whole of the Southern Africa was under the control of the apartheid regime. Now, Zimbabwe, what we call Zimbabwe now, we call Southern Rhodesia. Now, Namibia, Soweto were under heavy apartheid oppression. And Northern Rhodesia was also under apartheid oppression. And Nigerians struggled and fought and contributed money to fight for the independence of those people. In secondary school, in those days, secondary school children were contributing 10 kobo. Civil servants, they were deducting from their salaries. All of them were sending it to Namibia, in order that they would free the people, the whole of the Southern Africa, from apartheid regime. And by the mercies of the Lord, the fighting continued. If you remember, Sonny Okosun, in most of his songs that he composed, they were for who? They were for South Africa. So the war was carried, the battle was carried on all fronts. Obasanjo that time, I said, he confronted the United States and said, look, we are going to fight against you with our oil. It's on account of South Africa that the bank he called First Bank now, he was called Standard Bank. And Union Bank now was Barclays Bank. They were British banks. In order to deal with Britain, for Britain to release South Africa, the federal government nationalized those banks, changed Standard Bank to First Bank and Barclays Bank to Union Bank, in order to fight for the release of South Africa. Obasanjo felt frustrated one day and he said all the Baba Lawo should go to South Africa and they should carry Juju there to go and fight apartheid. You remember? Because he didn't know what else to do. How are we going? So he imagined that, look, let's mobilize everything, whether demonic or spiritual or finance or economic, in order to fight for the freedom of our people in Southern Africa. And that battle continued unabated. Nigeria had a foreign policy. Say every black man is a Nigerian. Say once you step into this country, a black man, you are a Nigerian. And particularly if you are South African and you got out and came to Nigeria, automatically you had all the privileges of every other Nigerian. Now, so all that travel passed, and now the Lord answered the prayers and the prayer labor of Africans, and then South Africa was free at last. Was the last of all the countries in Southern Africa to be free. And then the Lord began to help them, they began to grow. And now a time came. And now the South African who stood up and said, every black African in their country should get out, or they were going to kill them. They didn't have trouble with the non-Africans, but with the Africans. And that was another demonic conspiracy against our people, even against they themselves. How can that continue? What is the position of our government? Which way should our own government face them to answer them? Now, South Africa has great investments in Nigeria. Nigeria is a very great market. Nigeria does not have any such investment in their country, but they make a lot of money from here. MTN is a South African company. The subscribers in MTN in Nigeria is more than all the subscribers in every other country where MTN is put together. All over Africa. Nigerian subscribers is more than them. About 57 million people are subscribed to MTN. Now, MultiChoice is a South African investment. Several of you here have DSTV and you want to pay per month for DSTV. ShopRite, that many of you like to go, is a South African company. Now, these three companies are very big companies, and they make big money from Nigeria. And Nigerians have never reacted against the negative. Nigeria patronized them well. What do we do? And yet, they are burning Nigerians, burning their materials, burning their car, killing them, and sending them out of South Africa. Not because they have committed a crime, but because they feel that, look, they are not getting job, and the foreigners are coming. And whatever is their fear. I would have loved to ask the Nigerian government to call their government to order by nationalizing their investment, because on their account we nationalize the investments of UK in Africa, in Nigeria. So wouldn't it be right, therefore, to nationalize their investments in Nigeria? To nationalize MTN, to nationalize MultiChoice, to nationalize ShopRite, at least even with those three. So that you can see that they are not an island. They cannot be self-sufficient. They don't have all that it takes for them to exist as a nation. Because there's a relationship between nations. Why would people behave like that? However, we have a prayer to pray for our people that are there and for Africa, because this is one of the pains of Africa. Africa is a bleeding nation. How will a people who people have labored for, a civilized people, behave like this? Why other countries outside Nigeria are saying, outside Africa are saying, come to our country, emigrate to our country. Our own people, our own brother, over whom we have labored, I say, we will kill you for coming to our land. What kind of civilization is that? That is a demon. We must fight this demon in all fronts. Why government will go ahead to do their own, in order to call their own government to come and sit down? Because I don't even see their government reacting in any active way. Now, all these people who are doing this wickedness, they are not being prosecuted. They are saying, they are now saying their National Assembly should go home to their constituencies to go and preach against xenophobia. Now, killing somebody in your land without anything, they don't consider it a crime. They never mention any statement as if it as to the effect that it is a crime. Neither was any person among them arrested. And some of them are bold to come to the television and to make open statement that if they don't go, they will kill them, and they know them. Why government should be going ahead to nationalize these organizations and to call their government to order? We as a church are going to go ahead to pray.